To my left, Bobby Singh Brown, Stolen Vows. Stealing Vows. Oh, wrong tense. The wrong tense. Rez, oh, I was just going to call you Rez.
That's fine.
Box Cutter. Sold out. Oh, by the way, 2 sold-out screenings. Well, your screening passed, but your screening sold out. We still have a few tickets left to your screening. Josiane, Blanc, Words Left Unspoken.
Yes. We have, last time I checked, I think we have 22 tickets left.
That's great. Okay.
There's more than 20 people in here, so.
Yes. Get your tickets. And I want to ask, who's here? Who's currently making a film? Yeah, okay. Woo! Who's in pre-production or hoping to make a film in the next year? Okay, so nearly everyone in this room. This is great, because we have 3, I want to say really experienced. It's your first feature. You each did your first feature, but you have a lot of experience in production and your backgrounds in storytelling and music. So we're going to talk about that today and how you came to make your first feature. And I want to start at the beginning with your origin story. Why did you want to make a feature film in the first place? Josiane, let's start with you. And yours is a documentary.
Yes. So we started filming the documentary in 2017. I didn't know I was making a feature when I started. I was actually making a promo video. For the main character of my documentary he became an international public speaker. He has a severe stutter. And when we really initially started, 2 of our good friends, we all kind of met at the same time in 2016. We're starting that public speaking competition in Toronto called Speaker Slam. And José decided that José was pushed to compete as part of the month of May team, which was overcoming adversity. And my friends were like, oh, you should do a promo video about José and his way to the stage. It was called Journey to the Stage. We all sat down one day. And then I started filming, and I just kept going. So the promo video became a short film, and then it became a feature, and then it became 250 hours of content that we needed to shut down to 52 minutes, which was the most intense, but also the most fun, creative experience to figure out how to tell a story when you didn't know what you were filming as you were going. Yeah.
And what had you filmed previously?
Before
you
doing
were
the
working,
film?
yeah, because you were working, doing other projects.
I was, but that was initially my first project. And I got really lucky because I was part of the Doc Institute. So when I used the video that I was doing for Speaker Slam as a pitch to the Doc Institute, and then I got to work on my pitch and work on my video. And at the end of the Doc Institute, initially CBC Doc liked the project, and they onboarded on development. And that's how it started, and it became something bigger. But that was the first project I pitched, and it was also, I thought, would be my first project out. But we are 7 years later, and it's coming out. So I ended up working on a bunch of other stuff in the meantime, but I quit my job, and I started working on this.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Because, so you've been working on it that long, because you've had other projects come out since.
Yes, I did.
Not be prior to this one coming out.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I had a short documentary, 2 short scripted, 2 short form series, a comedy coming out this week as well, series. Thank you. Yeah. And this film is coming out now.
That's why I thought this one came after those projects.
Yeah,
okay.
I did think it wouldn't come out actually. At some point I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm not gonna see this, but I'm really excited to be here.
We're gonna find out more about that. But Rez, why did you want to make a feature film?
I think for me it's been, I kind of been like on an artist journey trying to figure out what that means and like how to be an artist, because my background, like you said, is in music. And you know, I used to be in radio and had a studio and worked with artists and all this stuff. And I think I just felt like I wanted to contribute more or somehow like create more, you know what I mean? Like I always felt like one step removed from being a creator, you know, like the radio show that I used to do with my partner, you know, we created that show. We created every element of that show, every sound, every song we chose, everything on there was ours. We created it, but like, it's still, we're still talking about other artists. You know what I mean? So there's still a step before, like, there's a step between me wanting to share something and having to just like say it rather than like create something to share, you know what I mean? And so I realized that like I could put my skills together into like this filmmaking thing, because like I always say, like if I could sing, I would just be a singer, you know? But I don't really have musical talent like that, right? So when I figured out like, oh, I could do this, this, and this, and like actually make the thing, then I found a way to like speak, you know? And so then that journey kind of just led, you know, then obviously you make short films, and then the feature is the pinnacle of that journey. Like that's what you want, that's what everyone wants to do, right? So.
And where did the story idea, for those of you that don't know, Box Cutter, there is a music connection to the film. The main character is in the industry or trying to get his foot in the door to the industry. Aside from that connection, when did the story hit you? When did you say, I have something here?
Well, you know, I was under like a lot of just personal pressure to figure out what my first feature is gonna be, which we all have to kind of go through. And I don't know, I just like woke up one day and I was like, yo, we gotta do this music. I gotta do the music thing. Like, I gotta put my worlds together, you know? Because there's a lot of pressure to make the very introspective first feature, you know, family drama, or you know, like diving deep into your own soul as an artist, you know? And either I wasn't ready to do that, or I just was like, that's not right for me right now, you know? And I just was like, you know what? Oh man, I just always wanted to see this type of film. And I was working with my writer, and I just said to him, yo man, we gotta do a hip hop movie. Like, that was it.
A Toronto hip hop movie, very Toronto, for those who haven't. Has anyone watched Box Cutter here? Okay, preview. Who has tickets? Okay, you're lucky, it's sold out.
I can't get one.
You can't get a ticket. We'll have to see. We can get you a ticket. Bobby, we covered some of this last night, but I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything about your film. But where did the idea for this film come from? Does everyone know what the film is about? It's a heist film. It's a matrimonial, I was telling you, a matrimonial heist film because it takes place in the wedding circuit in the suburbs of Toronto.
Yeah. So Stealing Vows is a warm-hearted heist film, a lot of comedy, a lot of heart, about 4 disgruntled wedding vendors who, for their own reasons, embark on a immoral yet clever heist spree by robbing their wealthy clients' homes during the wedding receptions in hopes of buying their way out of the industry. And it's a very personal story because after I graduated in film school in 2000, I did wedding videography, which I absolutely fucking hated, and I wanted to rob these people blind. But we wanted to write a story, but I made a lot of connections in those years between 2000 and 2005 before I did my first TV series. And that was, you know, in retrospective, amazing. Because I've got all these connections, and, you know, you guys don't know yet, but 13 years of banging on Telefilm's door and waiting for somebody to greenlight a movie and all of that. That's why I'm gray-haired now. And doing my first film. But we wanted to write a film. We were like, fuck it, we're gonna do our own movie. And we decided, let's write something that we can do with our community support on a micro budget of $250K that we raised ourselves. And I went, oh, I know. I can get wedding venues for free. I know lots of decorators, you know. I know this industry. I know the back doors. I know the ins and outs of how to get in and out of venues so nobody sees you, because I did it all the time. So we wrote a heist film about the South Asian wedding industry, and we actually set it in the 90s when it all happened, for me actually, because it's a lot easier to rob a house in the 90s than it is now.
There's so many questions to come out of that. But I like talking about doing a first film in a subject area that you really know well, inside out. And we could get back to that a little later. Maybe someone will have a question. But I did want to talk about something practical, and that's the next step. So, Josiane, you found yourself kind of already making the film as it was happening. But how did it come to fruition? Who did you go to? Who did you pull in? Were you working by yourself? Did you already have a team in place?
Yeah, well, initially when I started working on the film, I was working by myself. So when I joined the program with the Doc Institute, I was just filming with my small camera. I'm not the DP, but I was...
Because you were just doing a promo at that time.
Yeah, I did a promo, but then I started following the journey because Jose is incredible, and that's how I kind of got engaged in his journey. So he has a severe stutter, spent the first 20 years of his life avoiding speaking, and then he got into that journey of public speaking and stand-up comic. And as the journey was taking off, he went from one stage to another stage to a room of 1,000 people, and he just kept going. I just kept following him. In the meantime, I got CBC interested, so we did get development money. I onboarded a producer, Rain Zuckerman, on the project as a producer because I had never produced anything before. That was my first project.
How did you get CBC interested? Because I'm asking questions that I think people in the audience want to know.
Yeah, so as part of the Doc Institute, I don't know how much it changed or didn't change, we were pitching every week, and we were getting feedbacks from different people of the industry every week with no commitment whatsoever. We had like filmmakers coming in, experienced filmmakers, and at the very end of like, I think it was 7 or 8 weeks, we had broadcasters coming in and giving us feedbacks on our pitch. So it was more about the feedback, but once I pitched, they really got interested in the story and they sent me an email. And they're like, oh, we would like to, I know, it sounds like a fairy tale. But and they were like, we would like really like to dig more into that story, but you don't have any production experience, so you need to find someone to come on board. I did have a great opportunity at that time because when you go to see producers and you're like, hey, somebody wants to give me money, do you want to come on board? It's so much easier, even if you haven't done anything. So that happened. So I talked to a few people. I got Rain and Dominic at IGP involved in the project. And then we developed a little bit. In the meantime, you know, we pitched it at a bunch of different places, RIDM and so on. We kept going, we got people interested, but then COVID happened. And, you know, there's a very specific moment where I pitched at RIDM. I met with the commissioner at Al Jazeera. I met with a bunch of people who were super excited about the project. I was like, this film is done in a year. And then COVID hits, and then I started receiving emails of people being like, yeah, you know, pandemic, we'll be in touch with you. And then everybody kind of disappeared. And then I was like, okay, this is gonna be a problem. So yeah, so we never got, I don't know if we're getting there in the story or not, but we never got fully funded into production. So we ended up self-funding a part of the film to make the film happen. And I think that we kept going because we really, really believed in the story. I think that Jose's journey has been incredible and very empowering, and like, you know, we really think that the film can have an impact not only on people who stutter, but also on people in general, just about like overcoming fear and adversity and so on, so yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Rez, I want to ask you a two-parter, and that is you had hinted at a partner already, a writing partner that you had to begin this project. Was anyone else involved at that stage? And then I'll ask you that, and then I'm going to ask my second question later.
So, no, just me and him at the start.
So once you put a script together, what was your next step?
Well, I would say the first thing was a pitch deck. You know, and the script was always in in motion, right? So it's not like script done, now what do we do? Script's always being worked on, right? But I would say the first thing was a pitch deck, and just a couple of, because for me that's difficult because it also takes some writing and, explaining why you're doing what you're doing and why it's important to you and what you want to do, how you want to do
Who
it.
are you pitching at this point?
Oh, nobody.
Nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
You're just putting it together.
Yeah, just putting it down so that when I want to pitch it, I have something, right? And for that, like I also, went out with a couple of friends, took pictures, right? So all the pictures are, how I see the film, how I want the film to be shot, what type of lenses I want to use for the shoot to capture like a certain feel, stuff like that. So I guess pitch deck was the first thing, I guess, after the script. Yeah, and then I used that to basically try to get a producer. So that was the next thing. Was like, okay, I need someone to help me do this.
Where did you go looking for a producer?
Man, all over the place. Through connections, cold emailing people, just sending the pitch deck to, I don't know, hundreds of people,
Really?
In Canada and the US, and then, it was pretty discouraging and pretty soul-crushing at times. And then, I did meet with some people here and there, and that was nice. Feedback wasn't always the type that I would appreciate or wanted to hear, obviously. But then I was working on a podcast because I to make money, like I edit, audio and video and produce and stuff like that. And I was working on a podcast. And with a team like here in Toronto, and I connected with one of the producers on that, and I pitched to her, and her name's Soko, and she's sitting right there, and I pitched to her, and like, it was just, totally, what's that word? This made no sense, because she's a stranger, and I was like, hey, you want to make a movie? And so I sent the deck and the script, and she came on board, and that's when everything changed for sure. Yeah.
Oh, we'll hear about that on the next round. Bobby, I got the feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you had a writing partner as well.
So I don't know if you guys know Anoki magazine or events in Toronto. If you're South Asian, everybody knows. Raj here. Very dear friend of mine invites me to all our events. I'm sitting at the table. There's this bald guy sitting at the table with his wife, lovely couple. Turned out to be Ali Hassan, the comedian. So Ali goes up on stage and he kills it, and I'm dying laughing. I'm pissing myself. My wife's like, "Calm yourself. This is embarrassing." And I got to know him there, and then a couple of friends in the industry connected us, and I was like, "Ali, I'm going to write a film. You want to write it with me?" He went, "Sure." He goes, "I'll do it." For some reason, our synergy worked, and we spent 6 months in a Starbucks on Queensway writing 2 feature films.
Did you tell him it was going to be a wedding film?
Yeah, over pizza and beer, a lot of beer, we came up with 2 ideas. And the first one we wrote actually is your, it's like an Indian version of Grumpy Old Men. It's a real comedy. It's really fun. It's awesome. But it's a $1-2 million picture. That wasn't going to fly. I banged on the door of, we'll talk about this after, of this industry for so long that I knew I had to write one that was going to be done on our own. And then that's where the Stealing Vows idea came aboard, that we'll raise the money ourselves and just get it done. So that idea came from what I said previously.
And I do want to talk about funding, because that's a very important part of this project, and I want to talk about, I don't know if to call it a trend, but a lot of the money now, I get a feeling that it's up to the filmmaker to raise a part of that. And we'll talk about how each of your films were funded. But I wanted to, because I don't want to leave all the questions until the end, so I'm going to pause now to see if there's any questions to come up about what's been said so far, and then I'll continue with my questioning after. Does someone have a burning question? Yeah. There we go.
Specifically for Bobby, sometimes they'll just say, you'll hear, like when you request funding or you pitch, and you'll hear things back, and after a while you start to hear the same thing, and it sounds like coded language.
Yep.
You'll hear things like, oh, that's not our mandate.
Yep.
Like, oh, thank you. Yeah, you'll hear like things that are very convenient ways of saying no. What are some of those things, and what are some of those responses that you hear, and you start to hear the same thing over and over, as well as what do you feel that they actually mean to say?
Everything you said is bang on. There's an excuse. There's nice ways of making the same answer of no sound palatable, right? There's mandates, man. Like I don't know if any of you were in here in the beginning when Telefilm and all of them were up here. I challenged them. I'll always challenge them. I'm too old not to care. Like, I don't care. I'm old. What are they going to do to me? Not fund me? They're already doing that. Right? But it seems to be changing. I love that there was 4 women up here. That changes. I love that there was a person of color up here. That changes things. Sorry, the second part of your question was? No, they're telling you no or something's not ready. And I'm here to tell you guys, fuck it and do it anyway. Right? And that's the only reason I'm sitting here today and that my film was featured here, because I hit the F it button. In 2017, I was ready to give up this business. I've been producing for almost 20 years. I've had TV shows, I've done 14 CBC documentaries, I've done tons of stuff. And I'm like, why, look at my credentials, why am I not getting funded? You'll fund a Deepa Mehta crappy, sorry, I think they're crappy movies. But you won't fund me? Like, what, I don't get it. So I was ready to quit, went home to see my kids. They were sleeping in bed, looked in the room, and I said, damn, how am I gonna tell them to pursue their dreams if I quit? So my wife said, you got 2 years. And we did it. That's when I met Ali. It was serendipity. The moment I hit the F it button, everything started to happen. I met Ali a week later. We wrote a script 3 months later. And it just snowballed. But there were tons of roadblocks, man. Even then, there was people who said, no, you can't get this. You'll never get this made. There's people that walked through that hallway with me, I'm not going to name names, who told me you'll never get this made. And I told them, watch me.
Next year, we're going to name this panel Hit the F It Button. That will be the name of the panel. Josiane. Oh, I did see a question.
There's one there.
Oh, questions are coming now. Oh, Richard.
Run!
Run, Richard.
Run like the wind, Richard!
Richard's getting his steps today.
Safety last.
Hello, yeah, thank you for this talk. I'm actually a composer, and I'm curious, how long do you wait before getting a composer onto your film? And is there a preference of having them on early or having them come later to write?
I think for me, it really changed from a project to another. I feel like on Words Left Unspoken, Michelle, who's sitting right here, is a beautiful composer. She's amazing. Hire her. She came on board later just because we didn't have funds. So everything kind of just happened. On projects where funds come in earlier, I love to personally involve composer from the beginning because they do. A lot of them do like to read scripts, give ideas, and even sometimes start composing ahead of time a few things. And I think it's a really good and great collaboration to start on.
Yes, but as you meant, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna agree. Just the earlier, the better, in my opinion. Yeah.
We did our. I'm like Reza. I was a DJ for years. We did our own entire soundtrack for the film, and it's funny. Ali's best friend, serendipity, what I was talking about earlier. Ali's best friend is a world-traveling musician. He introduced me to him. We are now best friends. I'm a DJ, I can make beats, but I can't make songs, I can't do what you do. So I gave him a bunch of beats that I wanted for each scene of the movie, and he turned them into songs, right? So, but that was before we shot anything. So there is moments where you want specific songs or themes, like we even made a theme song to the movie. We did all those beforehand. So we have those to play for the dancers when they're actually doing the scenes in the movie. But sometimes, like documentaries, the feel comes after. Once you've done the edit, the feel is after.
There's another one. While Richard makes his way there, I'm going to ask a quick question to Josiane. And just kind of following up on that, because you mentioned your funding, ideally, you would bring on a composer from the get-go, but your funding came in waves. So after that development funding from the CBC, was that enough for the entire project, or did you have to seek out more funds?
Oh, no, that wasn't enough for sure. So then we did apply for Cross Current with Hot Dogs. We got it both in development and production. When we went to production, we basically had a little bit of money from Cross Current and Hot Dogs, and a little bit of money from Al Jazeera, who was commissioning and buying for the Middle East, for the MENA territories, and that's it. And then, after all these years with my producers, and I think that's why you have to kind of really care about the project, and you have to have on board a producer who really cares about the project just as much as you do and see the vision just as much as you do, because God, she could have quit any time. She had all of those years to quit, and she stayed until the end. But we really had only a portion of the film, and we filmed in Toronto, we filmed in Lebanon as well. I had to travel there with a team, so there was a lot of spending involved, and we went in with 30% of the budget. So, a lot of the money to finish the film was a producer's investment, and
you didn't know if that money would come.
No, and it didn't come. So we're still, we're still looking into sales of the film in a way to kind of make up for the money. Obviously, reality of this, I didn't pay myself. My producer didn't pay herself. It's been 7 years, and now we do have a few sales in Canada, but that's not making up for whatever the amount is of money that we never got, right? So it's challenging, right? So you have to work on a gazillion different things in order to keep making a living and feed yourself and whatever while you're trying to make your first feature happen sometimes.
I want to follow up on where we left your story, but I'm going to let someone ask a question first.
Thank you. You've already sort of answered this, but I was wondering what sort of creative decisions you made that were influenced around how much funding you could get, or how you would be able to sell your product. What sort of did you make any decisions around how you were doing your shoot, or which story you chose to tell, or anything like that, because it would be too expensive or harder to sell or harder to get money back or get funding, or not?
I mean, I could say for us that we kind of did the opposite. We basically shot in a way that we definitely should not have for the amount of money that we had, if you see our film, there's so many locations in our film. We shot 21 days, I think it was, and we were in a different location every single day.
How many? Do you have the count?
It was over 30 locations, and I think 50 moves or something, around 50 location moves or something crazy like that. So, that's insane to do on a micro budget level with a small crew and all of that. So I guess to answer your question is no, we just made the movie we wanted to make, Yeah, I don't know. The only times where the budget really affected what we wanted to do was things backgrounds, extras, paying for making a scene look bigger, but a limited budget didn't stop us from where we wanted to shoot, and the scope that we wanted to kind of achieve, And when you see the film, because of, if you make smart choices with camera, lighting, and lenses, I mean, the film looks beautiful, man. Like, it looks like $1 million, you know? And so you can really do a lot with talent and not a lot of money. And if you just kind of like stick to your guns and you're like, yo, I'm doing this no matter what, so.
Sorry. Sorry, I have a...
Make decision. Well, we found out already that you pushed forward and made your film anyway, even when the money wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's things that if I had more money, I would have done differently. Obviously, you can always do more with more. You know, I try to minimize sometimes the number of days of shooting. Try to, you know, when we went to film in Lebanon, we had 6 days. So we got out of the plane at night, and in the morning I was already shooting. So it was like, we got there at 10 p.m., and in the morning at 9, I was like getting gear ready, and I was like, we have 6 days. The entire schedule was so packed, because I was like, I don't have an extra day. I can't stay an extra day. This is so much money. So these are the type of things that you do. So you have to have an entire team behind you that really believes in the project and understand the vision and why it's important.
How many people, by the time you're in Lebanon, how many people are making the film with you?
Well, we were a small crew. So my main crew at that time was me, the producer, my main DP, even though I think I worked with like 6 or 7 DP throughout the years as I was making the film. Then, you know, when we were done shooting in Lebanon, I worked with 2 different editors on the project. And yeah, so I think overall maybe like 15, 20 people worked out of the film as we were going, because people get busy, they get on to work on other stuff and stuff, yeah.
Did funding affect how you shot your film? I know a little bit about it.
Yeah, right from the start. Like the 250 cap that I put on, or I should say low bar that I put on our projection and our crowdfunding was basically all actor money, right? I think 80% of it was actor money. And producing is problem solving. I'll figure out the rest, right? We got a good friend of mine, Jeremy Hood, who is the lead producer at Murdoch Mysteries now. Back then, called in every favor he knew. He heard I was doing my film. I didn't want to bug him. He's big time. I didn't want to bug him. And he goes, Bobby, it's your film. Of course I'm going to help you. And he called in $100K worth of free equipment. Camera gear, grip, lighting from Whites. They dropped it off. They picked it up. But then COVID hit, and we lost all of it. We lost all the gear. And we lost all the money. So then you double down. You put your thinking hat on, and you figure out how to make the rest of the movie work. And we did it by acquiring existing videography footage from other weddings, matching the decor, and dropping our actors into it. It's the only way to do it, right? My opening scene, hopefully you guys all get to see it, but the opening scene of the movie is and the red wedding in the film are existing videography scenes. Because I was no longer allowed to put 200 people in a room, right? Yes?
I saw the movie last night and it's brilliant. I loved it. The director of photography, some of the shots were just so cool. The ensemble cast was great. But when it came to the locations in Stealing Vows, are those friends' houses or were those rental houses? Or if those properties were...
Who did you rob? She's wanting to know who you robbed.
Okay, you're absolutely right, yeah. So same thing, problem solving 101. We needed Johnny's house. A lady named Asma Mahmood, who runs a festival in Mississauga called Mosaic, is a friend of mine. Said, Asma, I need a house. She goes, you can have my house. So the dining room scene, the bedroom scene, and the driveway scene is her house. The one banquet hall that we used for 3 banquet halls is a friend of mine who used to own it in Pyle Banquet Hall in Mississauga. That's where I used to shoot weddings for people. And he gave it to us Monday to Thursdays when there's no weddings. So we drop our gear on Monday, start shooting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pull it all out on Friday, and do it again. So, and then we just hire, luckily a friend of mine, Suki, who basically saved our film, owns all she's a decorator, so see, this is all resourcing. Use the people around you,
Make
right?
friends, make a lot of friends.
Producing is 100% problem solving. That's all it is, right? Don't ever look at a challenge and go, what the fuck? How am I gonna get past this? Put your hat on right away. How do I fix this? Right? And you will make your movies. I'm doing my first movie at middle age. You guys are young. I wish I was where you are right now. Don't fucking give up. Get it done.
Oh, Rich is gonna.
What are the different hats that you guys wear in creating your projects? Like, I think that's something, especially as independent filmmakers, you have to wear multiple hats. Like, Reza, I know you're a camera guy, right? So I'm just curious in you guys' projects, what are the different hats you guys wore in getting your projects together?
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, I guess like the funny thing about that is when you're a director, you're kind of in all of your hat's in everything, you know what I mean? So you're kind of doing a bit of everything. And then you're collaborating with the person that you bring on to help you in each of those departments. But I mean, like, you know, just specifically, I mean, director, I also edited the film. You know, as far as like a credit goes, you know, I also edited it. I think you were talking about, or you think you edited your film too, right? Yeah. So, you know, this is common for first features too, because we had to save money on that, you know. And then, I don't know, I guess like therapist, you know, like therapist. I don't know, you're kind of just like, yeah, your fingers are in everything, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I feel like I always say that I'm the PA until the producer and everything in between. I think that right now, you know, we're launching the project. We didn't have a budget to finish the film, so I don't have budget for PR or whatever. So I'm writing press release. I'm emailing people. You know, like I do subtitles and stuff to put it online. Like you know, you just have to do a bunch of different things to make some of the projects work. Obviously, others luckily have a bit more money, so you have bigger teams, but you know, you just have to be flexible and do a lot of different things to make projects happen sometime.
Actually, Click, so Click is we have a legend in the building from the music industry here in Toronto. So, Click, you'll appreciate this. So in Halifax, because we had our world premiere at the Atlantic Film Festival in Halifax, and talking about like, you know, putting different hats on, we were a street team, bro. Like we were like handing out flyers, like it was 20 years ago, you know. So it's kind of like, yeah, you just do everything until you can hire someone to do it for you.
Nothing is more humbling than making your first film, so you will do everything. I wrote it, I directed it, I produced it, I edited it, I was the coffee runner, I pulled the cable, I set the cameras, I pulled focus, I shot camera 2. I did the cleanups if we use somebody's house at the end, so I would be there till 4 in the morning. You do everything because this is your dream, so you just do it.
We have one more question.
Oh, okay.
This is a difficult one. Okay, so as a filmmaker who has not had a distribution deal and wants to go to investors, but you don't have the numbers to tell that investor what your ROIs are gonna be. You're basically just guessing or based on what you've learned throughout the time that you've been researching, what other filmmakers you've known have made, but it's not substantial enough. And distributors, you can't really trust distributors, to be honest.
What stage are you at with the project? In
Well,
this case, in this scenario?
In this scenario, if you want to go in as either your final project it's already been shot, edited, and everything, and I know these are two very different situations. If you want to go for a pre-sale.
Pre-sale, one with a script, pre-sale with a a finished project.
So it basically 2 questions in one. So if you want to go to an investor today and you want to make the movie, but you haven't shot it, you haven't done anything to that, and you need to know what those ROIs are, and how would you get that information if the distributors won't even talk to you because you don't have a finished product? And the second part of that question is that once supposedly you do have a finished product, and you want to go for those ROIs still, but you still don't know, like,
Okay.
you know,
I
because
think,
it's a short film or what have you.
Did you follow with that? So
Yeah.
you're in a position, you
So
have finished your
I'm
film.
exactly where you
Yeah.
just finished. I did it on my own. I didn't have anybody investing. I didn't have any outlooks of how we're going to make the money back, none of that. I just focused on getting the picture done. And now I've spent this year doing the festival circuit. This festival here, especially, and I'm not pandering, this festival here especially has opened so many doors. I've made friends here that are now the heads of these esteemed TIFF, you name it, that are the head of these esteemed, what are they called? Guardians of the keys to the kingdom?
Gatekeepers.
Who are now willing to listen, lady in the blue in the back, I'm talking to you. Because I got something done, right? Focus on making something great, and the money will come.
But it's always a risk, right? Especially when you want to go your own way.
100%.
Yeah.
I think we have a follow-up.
Ed, what about at the big, I think the follow-up was about the start as well.
Yeah, movies
Okay.
are expensive.
Yeah.
No investor is going to invest in a movie that's...
But what they're saying, I think, is
Yeah.
that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you go for it anyway. If you
Go
have
for
a
it anyway.
vision and you want to make something, make it, and that's kind of your calling card. That becomes, look, I did it.
Right, but that's if you've already made a short
Yeah.
film. I'm talking about is if you want to make a feature, for example, and you need to know what those ROIs are from distributors or from sales agents, but you can't collect it because you don't have
Yeah.
a finished product yet.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I'll start with this, but I'll let someone pick it up. I think you don't necessarily know because you might be unproven, and you could go by what someone else has done in the past, but that won't necessarily be the case. So there is always an element of risk involved, but I'll let someone who has been at the starting stage answer that. So let's go, this will actually go into the question I've been wanting to ask you. You were leading up to, you found your producer, but then what did you do about money? And this is kind of an example of, you have a script, but you don't have money yet.
Yeah. I mean, our story is pretty boring compared to these two here. But, we applied for Talent to Watch, telefilm Talent to Watch, and we were lucky to get accepted and got that. And so from there, I mean, that's...
Cover the entire budget.
No, so yeah, I was gonna add to that. So, we basically spent all our money on production and needed more to finish post, So we got lucky again because we got the, was it Ontario Arts Council? One of the councils, Canada Council. It was Canada Council. So we applied for Canada Council for some extra funding. So, we had raised, we also had gotten from our distributor. So I don't fully understand your question, to be honest, but in our situation, we also, at script stage, got a distributor on board called Game Theory. And they were the first to put a little bit of money into the project. And that was through, they had a kind of diversity, BIPOC submission thing, you know what I mean? So we got accepted by them. So they were the first to put in some money. And then I think that probably helped our telefilm application, right? And then once we were lucky to finish the film, then it's yo, we're done, but we can't finish the film, so who else can help us, So our pitch or our application for Canada Council was about post-production, right? And so then we got an extra little chunk of change from them. So I think this idea that once you start doing it, just doing it, people start to hop on board with you and they want to be on board with you and they want to, if something's happening that's exciting, they want to be part of it.
And what do you think it is about why they wanted to hop on board? I think that's what we're trying to drill down to.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, that's the, there's never going to be an answer to that. you know,
I'll tell you because the reason why we chose these films as well, why they're in the festival, because we don't accept every film that submits to our festival, is because there's a clear vision and clear story and clearly skill, right, in place. So I think also the funders do see that. I know there's still limited funding in Canada, but sometimes it's timing, sometimes just going through the experience of making your first film, even though it doesn't go anywhere, you learn a lot, and your next submission becomes even better. I mean, Richard, you could talk to this too probably, but talk to everyone in this room because everyone's going through it and everyone has different experiences depending on what stage they're at. But I think the three filmmakers here, you each have different roads to how you made your film, and that's what's incredible. And what you share is that you're incredibly talented, and that even though it was I just learned today, this was your first film ever, in a way. You just also made so many films while you were making this as well. So that's pretty incredible, too. Do we have time for one more?
How about lightning round? One quick question.
I wanted to do big lesson at the end. What's the, okay.
Quick
Two
question.
more. And one more for me?
Yeah, I just want to say big congratulations to all of you for doing it yourself, bootstrapping. It's not easy, but you did it. But my question is, so getting your first feature into a Canadian film festival, can you tell me more about that? How you got your films into, what film festivals have you featured your films in, and how did you push your way through? Because that's another hurdle.
Yeah, I use Film Freeway. I don't know if you guys know Film Freeway. It's very handy, very useful, and they take your money up front. And then I hound people. One, because right there it says website, right there it says their phone number, and I called them right after. Actually, I didn't have to call, thank goodness, that you like my film. But we opened in Montreal in May, then we went to Chicago. We're here now, and next is Vancouver, Ottawa, Yellowknife, New Brunswick, and London, England. Yellowknife is Yellowknife Film Festival, OCAN in Ottawa, VAF in Vancouver, Silver Waves, New Brunswick, Miraban in UK. But Film Freeway is great because it kind of paints the roadmap for you of what you're looking for.
I advise to read, I advise to read carefully the requirements. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so I would say, because we often see submissions that we can't even consider because someone hasn't read through, each festival will have very specific requirements. So you need to read really carefully, and in your director's statement, keep it brief and to the point, but answer why the question that the film festival might have put out.
No, I understand. What I was saying is, in terms of, I've been to programs where you meet festival programmers, and then you get to ask them specific questions about, like, finding out the themes of what they're looking for in terms of length and all of that. And not all of those, not all the information is on the Film Freeway website. I noticed that
Yeah,
you have to, like,
it should be.
email
Yeah.
some of them and let you know, oh, sorry, could you cut this film down to this or something like that. So you get those things, and it's not always on Film Freeway. I just thought that there was maybe, because getting into Canadian film festivals, especially like the big name ones, that's also another hurdle. Like,
Yeah, we didn't get into TIFF.
Yeah.
They said no to us.
Yeah, so you're talking about, I can tell you even our festival has become far more competitive than it's ever been. We turn away works that maybe a few years ago would have been in our film festival, and sometimes we turn away works we really love, but we just can't fit it in. So they're highly competitive, and in some cases people aren't ready yet. We sometimes will have themes, but those develop later with our short films, but not necessarily. With our features, we don't have themes. With our shorts, that can develop later, but they're so broad that wouldn't keep you from getting in or out of the festival. So I would say just read carefully that you can apply to that festival. Go to these festivals and see what people are working on. to get a sense of what's out there and talk to your contemporaries. Yeah, the truth is, at the end of the day, it's hard and there's no real tricks. It's very competitive and there's a lot of great storytelling out there, and just look for different opportunities with different festivals, and there are year-round programs that they run. Our festival does that. There's year-round programs that you can apply to as well, not just the festival. But does anyone else want to add to how you got in? I mean,
yeah, I mean, like
you all submitted through Film Freeway.
Yeah, I mean, like submitting to the festivals, you know, like making the film is the hard part, right? Clicking submit on Film Freeway is quite easy, you know.
And following up is very easy.
Yeah. So, but it's like, you know, that doesn't the festival journey is a whole other kind of thing, though, that you have to kind of try to figure out and navigate, and where do you want to be, and if you get into here, do you want to get into there, do you want to play here if you play there, like there's this whole thing.
There's a strategy.
Yeah, there's a whole strategy that you can think about, you know, and try to employ if you can. You know, because like you might have different goals, like, you know, like for us right now, we're trying to play, you know, 1 or 2 key festivals in different regions, you know, and then hopefully get distribution in those regions, you know, as opposed to just like trying to get into like as many festivals as like we can, you know. So there's different kind of ways to approach it, but the actual submitting part is quite simple, and then obviously it will help you if you can, like Bobby said, like call, or maybe you know someone that knows someone and you can put in a word. You know, you never know if these things are going to help or not, but of course it's going to give you some type of feeling like, okay, at least I told them, and I know they got my film, you know, I know they're going to watch it, you know. So any relationships you can build with programmers obviously is going to help. You know, but it's kind of like making it is the main thing, and then getting to that submit button at the end.
Yeah, focus on making a good film, because that in the end is what your ticket into a festival. Make a good film. Yes. Yeah.
No, I think everything has been said. The other thing I would say is that once you get one in, then sometimes it helps with theater, or like people get excited. They're like, oh, this festival accepted the film. I'm actually gonna watch it now. So that helps. We have a few people who reached out once we got into Reelworld. So
also, sometimes we see somebody and we're like, oh, they're nearly there, or I really like them. They didn't make it this year. We see that they've applied again, and we remember them. And you know, we want to see them succeed. Especially Reelworld, we really want to see filmmakers succeed. But it is competitive, and your film has to be good.
And I would just add to that, I think I submitted to Reelworld 3 times before this film got in. So you have to keep going, right? And creating stuff, and then, you know, it's gonna get somewhere, it's gonna play somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Richard is saying, I can't ask my amazing next question, so that's it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, y'all.
Thank you for participating, and thank you 3.